Welcome back to Safa's Unscripted. We got Casual Bias, we got Brett Burns, and we got Bria van Herbst. First and foremost, people, thank you for your love and support on the channel. The growth has been absolutely amazing. We're going to jump right into it, starting off with the nominations for the women's game. We've got Hele, we've got Janse van Rensburg, Latsha, Makari, and Roos. Now, boys, in my opinion, it's a pretty straightforward vote for me. Who gets it for you?
Let me go. Let me just say, I think it's going to be Nadine Roos, hands down. But just a little special mention for Makari. She's had a great season. But the tackle from Libby Janse van Rensburg in that game against Scotland, holy shit. That was impressive. But I think Nadine Roos takes it at the end.
Yeah, I think she tackles better than us, to be honest, Brett, because, that was insane. But, yeah, Nadine Roos, what a legend. She is definitely taking that, in my opinion. Superstar. Love her for that Bok women's team. Absolutely beautiful.
Beautiful. Now we move on to the men's game. Okay, but we're not going into the full 15s game just yet. We got to throw out a special shout out for our boys, the 7 boys on the field. Our nominations for the 7s Rugby Player of the Year. We got Ricardo Duarte, Christy Grobler, and Shilton van Wyk. Boys, who takes it on this occasion? Of course, we know Ricardo Gordon with a breakthrough season. Tricky Ricky, as they call him. Absolutely brilliant. Is he the star boy? Does he take it this season for you?
I think Shilton, his injury woes are going to cost him on this one. But Tricky Ricky, the performances specifically against the All Blacks and Fiji in his opening 3 series tournaments, I think that's going to put him over the edge to win it from there.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to go Grobler. I really like him a lot. For me, he's just super physical, just the game I like to play. Obviously, these 7 guys are, as we noticed, a lot of them come up to the 15s. It will be cool to see if one of them may come up to the 15 games in the future. But for me, it's Grobler. I really dig the guy. I think I'm always going to be that physical lock, so I really like him. He is that guy for me.
I can see that Brett doesn't agree, but you have to give Grobler some credit. He's 23. He's our age. That's why Brevan goes for Christy Grobler. And to be fair, he reminds me a lot of the way that Werner Kok used to play, or even Kwagga Smith used to play. He's just hard, like the guy, just like a never say die attitude. But Brett, you look so disappointed. Would you not have even had the guy in the nominations?
No, he wouldn't have made my nominations at all. I think Tricky Ricky has this thing on his own. They just put the other 2 in there to just show face so that it's not that obvious.
Well, to be fair, right, I can't remember a guy from 7s getting as much hype as Tricky Ricky has in that short amount of time. Like, after every game, everyone just wants to have an interview with Tricky Ricky. And it's like a breakthrough star. And the story that he had is amazing to actually get to the 7s, literally the sacrifices he had to make. I'm not sure if you guys have heard the story with him selling the car just to be able to go into the college or the academy and then get into that team, literally sacrificing everything. That is a very respectable move. So, moving on to the big nominations now. We're going to start off with Team of the Year. Let's go Team of the Year. We got the Toyota Cheetahs, we got the Stormers, and we got the Springboks. Now, of course, Toyota Cheetahs with rugby heritage. Every time they win the Currie Cup in a World Cup year, the Boks win the World Cup. Of course, the Boks won the World Cup this year as well. And then the Stormers nearly going back to back. What an absolutely amazing season. Is it a close call, or do you think it's once again a runaway? We'll start with Brevan for once.
Yeah, I was going to go first here because I want to see Mr. Burns disagree with me. But I think the obvious winner here, it's going to be the Springboks. That's just the obvious pick here. I think if I personally had to choose one, I would go with the Toyota Cheetahs. And I'm going to say why. Because we're looking at a franchise that plays against the bigger franchises, and, you know, they don't have the player depth that the other teams have, and they went and won the Currie Cup. And that's just my dark horse, because that's a team that simply is just punching above their weight at times, super team. And then again, Stormers also very good shout out to them. However, they didn't win the URC final, which is why I couldn't consider them in my opinion. But also, the Stormers represent South Africa yet again in the franchises there in Europe, so kudos to them. But I think the Springboks will be the ones to take this home.
Okay, so I'm actually not going to disagree with you, and I am going to disagree with you that the Springboks are not going to take Team of the Year. The Springboks build up to the World Cup was not an impressive one. The win percentage was quite low. We barely beat New Zealand. We barely beat Argentina, lost to New Zealand. And the Cheetahs' win percentage for me was higher, and then they won the overall tournament of the Currie Cup. I'm saying the Cheetahs are winning the Team of the Year.
Well, I kind of disagree with the both of you. So my thought process is, I know this is a rugby channel, right? But when it comes to the football or the soccer, the Ballon d'Or, Erling Haaland should have won it by far, but Messi won it because it was a World Cup season. Okay, so if it was any other season, the Cheetahs easily takes this one. Okay, but because we had South Africa going and probably having one of the best runs you will see, or the toughest runs you will see in a World Cup, and still coming out on top with that roller coaster of emotions, I don't see any way that the Springboks don't win this. Now, yeah, the build-up, as Brett said, wasn't necessarily the best because we lost the game to New Zealand. We made it way tighter than it should have been against Argentina. But just the fact that we won all of those games by 1 point, it was a tough as hell run. I can't think about a tougher run. I think this is a runaway victory for the Springboks to take it. Do you have a rebuttal to that, Brett? Trying to be smart now.
I do. No. So don't you think that because the Cheetahs won the Currie Cup, because of the heritage of rugby, what you like to brag about so much, because the Cheetahs won, the Springboks won.
No, there's no such thing as rugby heritage.
We gotta give it to the Cheetahs.
No, but I respect the Cheetahs argument, and I think it's the unpopular shout. I just feel like, if I'm being dead serious, it's a World Cup year, and you have to give it to the team that wins the biggest prize in the sport. Anyway, moving on. We got Coach of the Year. We've got Dobbers, Hawies Fourie from the Cheetahs, and then, of course, Jacques Nienaber. Brett, I'll let you go first again.
So my argument stays quite the same. So Jacques Nienaber's win percentage is not that high. Dobbers' win percentage, on the other hand, is very high. But Hawies he's the superior win percentage. So if you have to look on just based on those stats alone, Hawies takes it for me. So I'm going back-to-back Cheetahs and Hawies taking it as coach and team of the year.
Oh, okay. For me, it's definitely got to be. It depends on how they are looking at this. Are they going to look at it as what you won, or are they going to look at it as how many games you won, your win percentage? It's a really tough call because, as you said, Dobbo's really performed with that Stormers team for 2 years now, even. Then you've got the Cheetahs coach who was fantastic for them, and now Nienaber for me, who has just put this never say die attitude in that team. Oh, it's a tough one to call, but I think they are going to go with Nienaber on this one. I really do. I just think that the way he got us through the quarterfinal, the semi-final, and the final, all by 1 point, I just think that they will give it to him. And like Casual Bias said, toughest run in World Cup history. You got to give it to him. But Brett, I think your shout is fair. I think your shout is super fair.
But I've got a question for you guys. Do you think that Jacques Nienaber is almost underappreciated as a rugby coach in general, just because of all the hype around Rassie's name? Like, most people, if they talk about the coaching staff of South Africa or the head coach of South Africa, they speak about Rassie like he's the coach. Do you think that almost takes a bit of pressure off Nienaber? He can just keep on doing his thing. Is that the goal that Rassie's trying to achieve?
Yeah, so I like the way you phrased it. Taking the pressure off of Jacques Nienaber. Not taking the limelight off of him, because he's still recognized as the World Cup winning coach, 100% taking the pressure off of him. And Rassi's tweets kind of help that cause.
100%. That's exactly what I wanted to say as well. People don't realize. They all say, "Oh, Rusty, this with his tweets, he should stop." People don't realize the mastermind behind those tweets. When he's going at these idiots like Ben Smith on Twitter and these pages that slander the box, he's not doing it because he's triggered by them. He's doing it because, oh, now my players and my coach have a free run to do what they like and express themselves. So Rassi is just a genius, and I think Ninobe needs to be credited for the way we defend, especially. His defense mind is just on another level, and I truly believe this box side is the best defensive side of all time. And I don't think that's crazy to say.
Okay, so do we think Dobbo has any chance of winning this award? Because he didn't necessarily win silverware. He didn't bring any silverware home. He went to the final in the URC back-to-back and, of course, got to the quarterfinals in the Heineken Cup. But we lost a couple of games in the Heineken Cup, let's be fair. Do we think there was a better option than Dobbo in there? Or do we think he actually has a chance of bringing this one home?
I think Dobbo deserves to be in there 100%. I don't think there's a better coach out there at the moment than Dobson. Obviously, the other two compete with him, but if we're looking at any other franchise, I don't see a better coach. And I don't think he's going to win it, but he definitely deserves to be up there with the likes of the other two, in my opinion.
If you think about what Dobbo has done with that Stormers side, so he's taken a, shall we call it, a washed-up player in Mani Lebok and made him a Springbok. Nobody wanted him. He was the most overrated, hated player, probably in South Africa, and I was one of them. I could not stand Mani Lebok. When I heard he signed with the Stormers, I thought, oh well, there goes our chances of anything. And now I'm an advocate for him. Now I want him there because of Dobbo.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. Just look at a couple of seasons ago where the Stormers were when they still played in the Super Rugby. We were not a team to be feared whatsoever. And all of a sudden, we are probably the powerhouse when it comes to, well, not this season because we've been dog shit, to say it nice. But just the turnaround that is made into the team. But that doesn't necessarily pull through to actually win the award because that's built up over a couple of seasons. But people, we're not going to waste any time. We're moving on to the big boys. Okay, so we're 16 minutes in, and finally we get to the two big decisions to be made. First up, we have got the young player of the year. And there's so many potential Springboks that we got here. First up, we got Sasha Feinberg, Mngomazulu, Jaden Hendrickse, Kainan Moody, Evan Roos, Ruan Venter. Boys, let's start off with Sasha. What have we been thinking about this guy? We've spoken about him in the previous, not the previous episode, but in an earlier episode about him and what his potential is in the Bok jersey. Do we think he's got a chance of taking it this season?
He's got a slight chance. I don't think he's the obvious choice, but for me, he's top two, in my opinion. He is the guy.
The only reason that Brevan is not an advocate for Sasha is because he's a Bulls fan.
Okay? No, that's not true, but I've literally put him top two, and I've given him a slight chance. So I'm giving him top two. I think if I had to pick him, he would finish second on the list for me. You obviously know my obvious answer. But what a talent. I've said this before. He's a superstar, and I have no doubt in my mind he probably goes and wins it this year. This season that we're playing now, I think he wins 2024. He's an absolute superstar, and I think he'll win the next one.
I like it. So I don't quite put Sasha in the top two. The people that are in that lineup are all Springboks. Sasha's not. Yes, he's run from Western Province all the way up to the Stormers, but that's about it. He hasn't really. What has he done? He's been in a 4-game losing streak with the Stormers. I'm a fan of him, but he hasn't done anything for me to warrant being on that list.
Well, the guy's 20, Brett. The potential is crazy. But I hear what you're saying necessarily with on that list. He's the only guy that hasn't necessarily had the breakthrough that the other guys have had. But then you talk about him not being done anything to be on the list. What do you think about Jaden Hendrickson being on the list? The guy's been out most of the season, and yet he's on the list here for us.
I don't even know how Jaden Hendrickson put on a Springbok jersey, touring with them to France. He's probably one of the most overrated players, in my opinion. I cannot understand what value he adds to the Springbok team, and especially at the Sharks. I can't agree with why that guy's on the list. That list could have been a list of 3 people, excluding him.
It had to be
I
4.
agree.
I've got a replacement. I would have thrown in Grant Williams there. I think he's been absolutely brilliant this season.
Yeah. That's it for me. And I swear, I think Nienaber and Rassie saw the light. That's why they played Williams a bit more in the World Cup. Even though it was on wing, I think they saw the light and realized Williams is the better player. But Plumtree at the Sharks, busy picking Hendrickson over Williams. I just don't understand it. I don't get it. He's not my cup of tea. Sorry, Poms. We don't drink tea. We drink Brannas and Coke. But he's just not my type of player. And I think Williams should have been there over him.
Fair enough. Anyway, moving on to probably the big name, the one that Brevan has been waiting for. We've got Kane Moody. Now, surely this is a runaway victory for Player of the Year. Would you agree? Or are we still advocating for Evan Roos? Brett, please advocate for Evan Roos. I will not have a Bulls, what do you call it? Spanking of us.
If you have to look at that whole list, I think it's quite obvious that it's going to be Moody, especially that game against the All Blacks. I would say that Evan Roos is knocking very hard, and it's going to be a toss-up between the two. Because of, yes, Moody played well against the All Blacks for the Springboks, but he also had an absolute shocker when he played against Romania. And yes, he did go to the World Cup and Evan Roos didn't, but I can't see how Moody loses this one. It's his lineup to lose.
You know how crazy that is to say? To say someone was brilliant against the All Blacks and had a shocker against Romania. I don't even think you can try to do that. Like, how does this work? You know when you play golf, right? And you're like on the tee and you got your 3-wood, bang, and you whack it and it just literally like dribbles forward, like just falls off the tee. You can't even try and do that. It just happens. And that's exactly my thought process behind this Moody being shocking against Romania, but having a world-class performance against the All Blacks.
Yeah.
You know what? I think if we look at the Romania game, it's gonna happen because for me, it's a team that you're gonna play very.
Defend a Bulls player. Just stop it.
No, I will defend Moody. Thank you. And I will and if it was any other player, if it was Roos, if it was I would be defending them. For me, for goodness sake. But we have to realize that. Yes, you guys, I've lost my train of thought. I look like a doers on this thing now. But what I want to say is, if we look at Romania as a team, go on, Brett. Get me out of this.
This is why we call it. This is why we call it Safas Unscripted. You lose your train of thought. You sound like a dummy, and we just keep on moving. This is no cutting.
Delusional Bulls fan. Yeah.
You got the idiotic Bulls fans. Anyway, moving on to Evan Roos. We got to put some respect on the guy's name. Now, currently, a couple of weeks ago, we were speaking about Evan Roos not having necessarily the best discipline in the world, but goodness gracious, the last 2 game weeks, the guy's been on absolute fire. Now, of course, still in the losing team because, the Stormers don't win games anymore. It's just rugby heritage from now on that the Stormers don't win. But he's been absolutely brilliant. After Brett actually slandered him on TikTok shamelessly. Brett, what do you have to say to Evan Roos? Do you think he stands a chance above Moody, who's been like the star boy for the Boks?
Well, like I said, if it's going to be extremely close, I'm hoping, as a Stormers fan, I'm hoping that Moody's poor game against Romania and Ruiz's great game against Munster tilts the favoritism a bit towards Ivan Ruiz.
Maybe a tiny bit, because if I was Moody's advocate in the courtroom, I would have lost the case, and you probably would have won Ruiz the case. So fair play. Fair play.
I'll sit here, I'll read. Okay, we've got two options: Kane Moody or Evan Ruiz. Kane Moody was bad against Romania in the Rugby World Cup that Evan Ruiz wasn't even at, and yeah, he was. Evan Ruiz was better than Moody against Munster. Evan Ruiz, you get it. I mean,
Yeah, but Moody wasn't QRC. That's why.
fair enough. Fair enough.
He didn't make it.
And then, of course, finally, we've got Ruan Venter. Thoughts and opinions. Does he really have a chance? Is it like a charity case in the grand scheme of things? Because, of course, the Lions haven't necessarily won it. They have a couple of star boys, but can you rank them up there with the likes of Sasha, Evan Ruiz, and Kane Moody?
Venter. Sorry, I know this is your area of expertise, Brevin. But Venter, for me, him and Van Wyk at the Lions are actually their glue, and that's those two together are going to go together into the box squad. Mark my words. Venter is incredibly good. He's a bit of a silent assassin, and he wholeheartedly deserves to be on that list.
100%. And obviously, he would edge out Jaden Hendrickse. So he's above Jaden in that list 100%. And Ruan Venter is for me, it's almost like another Pieter-Steph du Toit. He's just super. He's quiet in some games, but he's still doing his work. And he's just a superstar. And obviously, Van Wyk, like you said, he as well will make that box squad with Venter. So two of them, hats off. They, like you said, they are the glue, 100%.
Would you agree with this statement that Henku van Wyk deserves more to be in these nominations than the likes of Jaden Hendrickse or even above the likes of Sasha Feinberg?
I'm going to say no because of his long injury layoff. That's the only thing keeping him off.
So, because he has had a couple of injuries, right? And he's only, 23, 24? And are you nervous when it comes to that injury record already? Or do you think he somehow gets it right to fix all of these things and he can have a long career when it comes to playing in the green and gold?
Well, isn't that pretty much the same as Andre Pollard? Had his injury stints going crazy, and once that was sorted out, he won a World Cup for South Africa. So injuries will happen to every single rugby player. Yeah, but I mean now after the injury.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
But if injuries happen to every single rugby player, no player, unless you Mornay Steyn that doesn't like to tackle or take contact, you will never get injured. But other than that, you are sorted, you are going to get injured. So it's fine. He'll deal with it. If the challenge is if he can mentally deal with it.
Okay. Yeah. Moving on to the moment we've all been waiting for. 26 minutes in, we've got Blue Balls talking about this moment. We have got the South African Men's Rugby Player of the Year. The nominations are Pieter-Steph du Toit, actually Pieter-Steph du Tackle, Eben Etzebeth, Siya Kolisi, Frans Malherbe, of a stutter, Damian Willemse. Boys, I'm just going to give you the floor, Brett. Choose someone and we speak about them.
Okay, my silent assassin on this group. I don't know who's going to agree with me. I'm super happy that he's on this list. Is Frans Malherbe. The guy is probably, it's not even a debate. He's the best tight head in the world. And to play as much rugby as he did and as hard as he did and not give away penalties in a World Cup year, it's incredible. This guy, he did give away penalties, but not according to my knowledge. Okay, so he's my hero on that team.
To be fair, right, if you look at every single breakdown, whether it's attack or defense, somehow he's always there. I've never seen Frans Malherbe in my life run, jog, never mind run. Never. I've only seen this guy walking, and yet he's at every ruck, always there, never gets put back. He scrums the inside of people's assholes. He's absolutely insane. Brevin, would you agree that he is up there? He's like an underrated opinion on this list?
100%. He wouldn't be my choice, but massive, massive case. The guy is one of the reasons why we win so many penalties in the first place. His ability to scrum until he literally gets taken off the field is incredible. Sometimes he gets asked to play 60 minutes and people have the audacity to call him fat, lazy. But the guy's making tackles more than some loose forwards. He is he is super underrated, and it's crazy that people genuinely think that he's lazy. It baffles me.
Well, Brevin, just the fact that he's fit doesn't mean he can't be fat. Because let's get something right. He is a bit fat, but I love the guy, and he is fit. He does it for 60 minutes. You can be the fattest guy in the field, right? If you give me 60 minutes of everything, I have no issues with you whatsoever.
Quick fun stats here on Mr. Malherbe there. What edges him above everybody else for me? Also, special mention to, I think, Frank Mostert needed to be on this list. But the quarterfinal, the semi-final, and the final, Franco Mostert made 49 tackles, missed 0. The only person in the Springbok team to have made more tackles than Franco Mostert in those 3 games was Frans Malherbe.
That's
Crazy.
insane.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Insane.
Super. I'll tell you, Tubby, what a legend. Such a legend.
So in the previous conversation, we had the star boys, the guys with the breakout seasons. But there's only one star boy when it comes to the green and gold, and that is the 25-year-old with 2 World Cups, with a rugby championship, a British and Irish Lions series, a URC, and a URC final that we bottled, okay? And that is Damian Gaza Willems. Boys, what is the potential on this guy? Like, what if you're 25 with that achievements, what drives you to still play rugby?
What drives him is watching Frans Malherbe scrum.
Damian Willems, I remember watching this kid at school level. I remember watching this kid for the junior box, and I was just like, can he already just please be in that box team? Like, he is so good. 25 years old, 2 World Cups, like you said, all those achievements. He is my dark horse for this nomination. I don't think we realize how well he has played this year. Superstar. But I'm going to do a guy here who I just think for what he's done for the country, and people are going to laugh at me, people are going to disagree, but I'll back him. I had my doubts about him. I'm going to say Siya Kolisi is going to be Player of the Year. And the reason I say this is, you guys can disagree with me, but the reason I say this is just I've never seen a guy come back from an injury and people are going to say he was never injured, and we're going to have all this speculation, but on paper he was injured. He came back, he performs superbly. Yes, he had 1 or 2 hiccups here and there, but if I had to pick the 2, I would pick Siya Kolisi. Obviously that might not happen, so then the next choice is Eben Etzebeth. What do you guys think on that?
Why are you giving Siya Kolisi Player of the Year after being out for 4 months? How is that even fair?
But then we can't consider Eben as well.
That's why I didn't.
So the thing is, literally in the previous conversation, right, we mentioned, should Henku van Wyk be nominated? And the one thing we said, if he wasn't injured, he was going to be there. And Siya Kolisi decided to be injured for way longer than Henku van Wyk, and yet he's there. Now, I have no issues with Siya Kolisi. He's captain rugby, captain South Africa, make him president. I don't even care, okay? But he shouldn't be on this list, okay? I think this is a popularity vote, that one. And the 2 standouts for me is easily, Damian Willems and Eben Etzebeth. Now, Eben Etzebeth is a standout for me because of that one performance against France. And yes, I'm clinging to that with dear life. And the fact that he was mentioned for Rugby Player of the Year. Like, he was in that nominations. And he probably came second as well. So, but I agree with Brett with the underrated opinion that it should be Damian Willems. I think he was absolutely sensational for us. Incredible.
So we have 3 different nominees here. We got a Damon Willemse, a Sia Kulisi, and a Frans Malherbe.
No, Brett, your camera is inverted. Don't point at me while you show Sia Kulisi, okay? Point that one.
Sia
Because
Kulisi,
I'm not claiming that one.
Sia Kulisi, Willemse, and Frans Malherbe.
Interesting.
I'm actually changing. I'm changing. My top 2 are Eben and Willemse, because I completely forgot. I'm going with Willemse and Pieter-Steph du Toit, because since he started the season, right, when it came to that game against Australia, until he ended that game against New Zealand in the Rugby World Cup final, and every single game in between, he was sensational. He made about 1 billion tackles in that game against New Zealand in the final. He was crucial for us, the one guy that never gets subbed, and he officially changed his name on his ID. It's Pieter-Steph du tackle. It's literally all he does. It's absolutely crazy. Like, you call him Pieter-Steph du tackle, yet he does everything else brilliantly.
Yeah, casual bias. You have. I'd be a terrible lawyer because you've just won another case for another player. That final should win it alone. The final that he played should win that award alone. The greatest World Cup final performance ever, in my opinion. Pieter-Steph du Toit probably is gonna go down as one of the greatest Springboks to ever play. I would say top 5. I don't know what you guys say.
But let me just add that I'm going to advocate here more for Frans Malherbe. Frans Malherbe in that game was the first person to 15 tackles. The first person in the entire game. He was the first to 15 tackles. When they showed that stat of him at 15 tackles, the next person was Pieter-Steph du Toit, was at 10. Give the man credit, guys. He's a 130-odd kilogram prop that is tackling for his dear life and then going back to scrum and kicking ass while he's doing it. Frans Malherbe is World Player of the Year for South Africa.
I will not accept this. You're acting like I'm slandering Frans Malherbe. I love Francie, but I love Pieter-Steph as well. You know what I like about Pieter-Steph the most, right? You know, when he gets the ball, he shouldn't have too much time on the ball, because I feel like he's a bit dumb. Now, I'm not saying he's dumb. Like, you know those guys that, like, if he gets the ball, there's too much time. He's like, oh, shit, what do I do? He throws the ball away. When there's a guy immediately on him, he knows, okay, time to just bumper cars, boom, go straight through, run over this guy. If he gets too much ball, I'm scared he starts running backwards. I just think, like, mentally something, Pieter-Steph du Toit just looks like, whew, don't give him time.
It looks like none of us are going to agree. So that's how this is going to end, I guess.
Okay. So just to run through all of it, people, we have to agree. Okay. So to end the podcast off, we have to agree. We've been disagreeing a lot, and this has been a podcast of chaos. Okay. And Casual Bias thrives on chaos. Okay. So the first nomination, of course, we had our ladies, our Women's Player of the Year. Are we in agreement that we've got Nadine Roos to take that one?
Yes, we agree that Debbie Antiwanda taking it.
Changing is she can have tackle of the year, even in the men as well. She had the best tackle of the year.
Okay, Nadine Roos Player of the Year.
Okay, and obviously we all agree that it has to be Tricky Ricky. Of course, Breven decided to go with the underrated opinion of Christy Grobler, but yeah. Tricky Ricky has to get it just because of all the hype and the storyline with it. Tricky Ricky, surely.
Mm-hmm.
We can all agree.
Good. Then, Team of the Year. We all disagreed on this one. Well, we had 2 cheetah voters, and I went for the box.
Let's leave it
and
at
I'm not
that.
changing it. This is a World Cup year. We have to use that. It's a World Cup year, once in every 4 years.
Let the comment section decide who should take it.
Yeah, because what do we know? I mean, we're just casuals, aren't we?
You see, people, I'm the only one that actually watches rugby, that cares about rugby on this podcast. So
he's lying.
These guys. Moving on, we've got Coach of the Year, John Dobson, Avis Fourie, and Jacques Nienaber. We're probably agreeing that it has to be Jacques Nienaber this time.
Avis!
Yeah, I had Nienaber, but Brett's opinion is very valid. Very, 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 very valid.
You see, people,
There's a reason-
I've got the feeling that Brett is Brevan's daddy today because he's just been eating him alive and carrying him on his back. What is going on?
There's a reason why people call me the knowledge of the group.
I've never heard that in my life. That is very cocky. You're a typical Sapphire at the moment, Brett. You have to calm down.
Wouldn't change it.
Of course, we got our young player of the year. This is where we all have to agree. I would never want to put as much respect on Bulls, never mind Bulls players. But it has to be Caden Moody. He has been the star boy, the young breakthrough player of the year.
I agree.
Yeah, and the Romanians own him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't even defend him.
Close second for Evan Roos with his couple of weeks ago performance against Munster.
Yes.
And then, of course, the big one. Are we going to leave this one to the comments or are we going to debate this out for one final time? I'm going Pieter Stef du Toit.
The comments know it's going to be France Arba.
You see, the funny thing is, it's probably going to end up being Eben Etzebeth because he was nominated for World Player of the Year. Let's be serious. So he'll probably win it. But in our People's Choice, this is the People's Choice Awards, I'm going Pieter Stef du Toit. Pieter Stef to tackle.
Damian Willems and Oseo Kulisi. Damian Willems, Oseo Kulisi.
Embarrassing.
You're calling your own player embarrassing. How sad. How sad.
Okay. People, thank you very much for watching this absolute chaotic episode of Sapphires Unscripted. Listen, there's so many flaws and we are not going to edit anything. Okay. This is one of the things. We appreciate your love and support. It's absolute chaos. Enjoy your evening. Thank you and good night.
Bye.